Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for a special broadcast. We are tracking a narrative that has shattered the confines of the scoreboard and erupted into a full-blown cultural revolution.
If you follow the Pro Tour closely, you already know the heavyweights, Swiatek, Sabalenka, Coco Gauff. But if you have been glued to your news feeds for the past 10 days, watching chaos erupt in Melbourne and surge across the Indian Ocean to the Arabian Gulf, then you know the most explosive force in tennis right now is not a world number one or a decorated legend. It is a 20-year-old left-hander from the Philippines who has single-handedly forced Middle Eastern elites to scrap their plans and panic rewrite their logistics, and that player is Alex Eala. The headline flashing across your screen is no exaggeration because the entire region is in genuine disbelief. Her arrival may have been chaotic, but her status is now undeniable as a true global sensation. And tonight we strip away the hype to expose the very real popularity crisis gripping Abu Dhabi. A shock that traces directly back to Australia, where Eala's Australian Open run was not simply a tournament appearance, but a demographic surge caused by a massive failure of planning after organizers underestimated her draw, saw only a qualifier ranked 49 in the world, placed her on a small outer court, and triggered absolute mayhem as waves of fans in Filipino colors flooded Melbourne Park until security barriers collapsed. Gates were shut on angry ticket holders. And footage of a roar rivaling a Grand Slam final sent shockwaves through the sport, a tsunami that has now reached the UAE, where her arrival has sparked rumors, frantic speculation, and emergency security rewrites at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open as officials fear a repeat of the madness, realizing their infrastructure is built for polite applause and orderly queues, not for a passionate national movement that changes a city's rhythm and wipes out ticket inventory within hours. Transforming a disciplined student from the Rafa Natal Academy and Quezon City into the most volatile force in Middle Eastern sports. We will break down the scramble as fans and officials alike were swept up in the frenzy surrounding her arrival, examine how the Arab Tennis Federation and the global media were forced to elevate her to instant headline status alongside established stars like Belinda Bencic, and explain why, despite an early exit in Melbourne, she remains the uncontested conversation driver across the entire hemisphere. With the region now bracing for impact, as tickets vanish and confusion hardens into a single reality that the phenomenon has landed, and it is impossible to ignore. Because to truly grasp the scale of what is unfolding in Abu Dhabi, we must rewind and understand why a tennis player is being welcomed with the manic intensity usually reserved for heads of state or global pop icons, especially in a desert swing that for decades has been the private domain of tennis royalty in Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Dubai, a circuit built on luxury, precision, and legendary names like Federer, Djokovic, and Serena Williams. Yet in 2026 that script has been torn apart as the atmosphere shifts violently from prestige to raw emotion driven entirely by the rise of Alex Eala, whose arrival ignited 48 hours of non-stop rumors across the Emirates as flight trackers refreshed endlessly, and crowds packed Zayed International Airport simply because no one knew if she would arrive in time, or in what condition after a punishing Melbourne run and a rapid stop in Manila, with whispers suggesting she might withdraw entirely under the emotional weight of her Australian Open loss, only for uncertainty to explode into action the instant her confirmed landing was announced. Prompting Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open organizers, haunted by Melbourne's chaos, to crown her the undisputed centerpiece of the event despite this being a WTA 500 stacked with Grand Slam champions, a move that defies traditional tennis logic, but reflects a regional truth rooted in the Gulf's massive Filipino diaspora that has long powered its development while craving a local sporting hero. And unlike Manny Pacquiao competing oceans away, Eala is here, playing on their soil and carrying the hopes of millions of overseas workers, turning every point into something larger than rankings, a pressure that Melbourne proved can both lift and suffocate her, as the deafening support first rattled her opponent before shifting into a crushing burden with every mistake. Volatility she now brings to Abu Dhabi, where the Middle East's refined tennis culture of polite applause is set to be overwhelmed by football-style intensity, chanting, and emotion, signaling nothing less than a complete cultural takeover of the Zayed Sports City International Tennis Center. Officials are now racing to adapt, stuck between enforcing traditional tennis silence and embracing a raw new atmosphere. Because how do you quiet the very fans filling the seats or dampen the energy blasting your tournament across the internet? And that is the exact disruption Eala brings as she forces the sport to evolve, turn up the volume, and tolerate a little chaos. While on the court her rise cannot be dismissed since 2025 was the year her promise ignited into real force. Highlighted by her stunning takedown of Iga Swiatek in Miami, a win coaches worldwide still analyze because it was no fluke but a calculated breakdown that proved her Natal Academy-built left-handed forehand has the spin and weight to overpower the elite momentum she carried into the SEA Games in Thailand, where skeptics wrongly dismissed her gold medal run despite the intense pressure of competing on hostile ground. A perfect rehearsal for the Middle Eastern cauldron she now enters after sweeping the event without dropping a set and revealing a ruthless edge, making her arrival in the Gulf as much a competitive shock as a cultural one. With top seeds no longer seeing a world number 49 but a dangerous wild card backed by a ferocious crowd that turns every match into an away game, creating psychological havoc across the draw. While off-court insiders say her team is enforcing a near-military schedule and total silence since her landing, replacing her once open access with a tight security bubble designed to protect focus under an overwhelming spotlight, frustrating local media, but serving a clear purpose because she did not travel for photos, but to chase silverware after Melbourne, with Abu Dhabi's medium-slow deco turf suiting her lefty game perfectly by giving her time to construct points in the natal mold. Setting up a scenario where riding the wave of support could lead to a deep title run, but losing balance to the noise could trigger another early exit. A razor-thin line that has the entire region watching closely as the next 7 days unfold. Because what people are witnessing is not just shock but the birth of a new kind of athlete, one who represents the future of tennis as global, Asian, loud, and passion-driven. Where all the arrival drama fades once the first serve flies and the real story plays out between the lines, leaving us to see whether Alex Eala can convert unprecedented pressure into domination, whether the desert is ready for her uprising, and whether for the Filipino community this moment truly feels like the sport finally coming home. So the wait is over, the fog has cleared, the show has begun, and now it is your turn to weigh in. Whether you saw the airport chaos or are holding a prized ticket for round 1, drop your thoughts below, hit subscribe, and stay locked in as we track every twist of Eala's desert storm because the hurricane has arrived.